I just found a cool vintage watch with an even cooler repair story. If you're into collecting vintage watches or doing watch repair, then I don't have to tell you what a great hobby it is. But it takes patience, especially if you're doing your own repairs when things don't go right. There's a beauty to vintage watches, but time is literally ticking against you in the form of aging or broken parts that you may encounter, and the growing probability that someone else has been in that watch before you. Plus, there's a scarcity of used and new old stock replacement parts, which are often hard to find and even harder to justify with rising costs. It's not unusual for your $30 flea market find to quickly become a $100 repair project, worth half of that after investing hours of your time. So watch collecting and repair requires some level of taking chances. When looking for watches, some of you might have a holy grail specific brand or model from a particular year in a rare colorway or complication that you must have as part of your collection. It's like winning the lottery when you can find exactly what you're looking for in great condition at a fair price. Seller descriptions on sites like eBay are often overly optimistic, and you, the unsuspecting buyer, might receive a watch that doesn't meet expectations. If you're watching this video, then there's a good chance you may have experienced this. I personally don't have a brand preference when searching for watches to repair or just to add to my collection, but I tend to gravitate toward early to late 20th century wristwatches from American or European brands. So for me, I often take chances on flea market and thrift shop timepieces where brand and style might be completely random and condition is a wild card. So here's the watch that sent me down this flow of thoughts. I took a chance on buying this used vintage automatic winding Hamilton at a store that buys golden jewelry. I knew at the store that it had at least one major flaw. The automatic winding wasn't working when I gave the watch a good shake. But you could set the time, and the second hand started going when I gave it a manual wind. It also checked off a lot of the boxes of things that I look for as far as condition when considering buying a vintage watch. So let me pause here and ask you what you look for in a vintage watch, or more specifically, a bargain watch that will make a good refinishing project. I'd love for you to share your tips in the comments that can help other watch enthusiasts. Some of the things I look for are basic. Does it set? Does it run? What is the case condition? If the watch is steel, is the case solid stainless steel, which can be more easily refinished, or is the case a base metal with a plated surface, which limits how deeply you can refinish before going through the plating? If the watch is gold, is it labeled rolled gold or gold-filled? Gold-filled and rolled gold are often synonymous, and the layer of gold is much thicker than on a watch that is simply electroplated, so you have more material that you can polish without worrying about exposing the metal underneath. Another important consideration is the condition of the dial in the hands. I don't mind a dial with a little patina, but I personally don't like when the dial gets dark and mottled. I also don't mind if the hands need new luminous paint, as long as they're in reasonably good shape. On the subject of lume, or that luminous paint, many old watches right up through the 1970s may have radioactive paint or radium on the dial and hands. I'm starting to recognize what aged radium looks like, and if it's in pretty good condition and not missing from the hands and powdered all over the inside of the watch, then I'm more likely to take a chance servicing it. If you're just going to polish the watch and wear it, and if the crystal is intact, then I wouldn't be concerned about radiation getting out. And if you were to service a radium watch, then there are precautions you can take to do it safely, like wearing protective gear and removing the old lume underwater. This is a choice for you to make. I paid $70 for this watch, not knowing what I might be getting myself into. I suspected it might be a radium watch, but since the luminous paint looked like it had stayed where it was originally intended, I wasn't that concerned. I'm glad I did buy it because when I got it home for a comprehensive exam, this is what I found. Look at that dial. That's tasty. So I just picked this up, and I don't know what year it is. 10 karat rolled gold. Actually has a very nice expansion bracelet. This is also 10 karat rolled gold. And I'm going to open it up so I could see the movement. This is a radium watch, so I'm going to be careful. Okay. Will the back come off? Yay, there you go. Oh, okay, so I'm happy to say that it is running very well when you give it a manual wind, but I think I know why it's not automatic winding. I have my theories. How long can I let that joke run for? What is this, a rubber band? Come here. Come here, you stiff piece of plastic. And if we move that, let's see. There we go. It's moving pretty freely, and it looks like it's winding in both directions. Very nice. All right. Overall movement in pretty sweet shape. Needs a new gasket, and I think we know why the automatic wasn't winding. Excellent. I love discovering easy fixes. I'll give you a closer look at the pretty side of the watch. I really like the dial. The gold on this watch is in really good shape. I love the big fat fonts, the 12, the 9, the 3, and the 6. And then it has those trapezoids around the rest of the dial with a textured sunray coming from the center to the outside. It says Swiss down at the bottom, automatic. The Hamilton name is in paint on the dial. And there's a little bit of damage on the dial. I don't know if that's lacquer that came off. It appears to be. It just looks like, well, I don't know. So there's the dial. Nothing to identify this watch model on the dial. I'm going to flip it over, and you can identify the watch. The Hamilton 672. According to the web, the 672 was manufactured between the late 50s and the early 60s. And as you can see with that gasket out of the way, that automatic rotor is tumbling very nicely. So talk about an easy fix. Perfect. All right, what else was I able to find out? Before I tell you what I found on the web, here's the watch back. Hamilton lifetime mainspring, shock resistant, waterproof, 10 karat rolled gold plate bezel, and stainless steel back. Hamilton Watch Company, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Repeating, 10 karat RGP, rolled gold plated bezel, stainless steel back. There's a serial number R889900. That got me nowhere. And Star WC Co., Star Watch Case Company. And then here's this code, 1N98. The 1N is how Hamilton designates what the case material is made of. So in this case, 1N represents yellow gold filled. From that 1N98 designation, I found out this watch was likely made between 1957 and 1960. So that's right in line with the other research that we did. And I'm just going to zoom back in on that designation on the main plate. And what do you think that means? This watch is based on the ETA 1256 movement. Oh, you know what I should show? Here's what I should show. I found this was interesting. This bracelet. First, it's not all that likely that you see these bracelets that actually say 10 karat gold filled top, which is nice because if they're just plated, the gold sometimes wears through. This has me a little puzzled. Flex let, tab lock, and then there's an arrow pointing down. So take a look at this end link. It's a curved end link, and I think it fits the watch well, both in style, color, and side to side. But when I look in here at the lugs, that spring bar looks absolutely massive. So I think it looks like there's another sleeve inside this bracelet. And in here, look at this. Can I move it? Okay, so this is attached to this. And I think I'm supposed to pry this up, and maybe that allows something to slide out, but it still looks like it has spring bars. They're just very, very beefy spring bars, but we can get in there. That's not a problem. So that's another one of the mysteries. I've never seen that before. Here, I'll move it around a little bit. Can you see that big fat spring bar under there? So this is some kind of system, I guess, that holds everything together, that end link, and maybe it's a more secure way of keeping a watch bracelet on, but I've never seen it. So I am not going to replace that gasket at this time. Oh, that's interesting. Look at the threads on this back. It looks like the threads go all the way up to the case back. It just seems like it's more deeply threaded than I'm used to seeing. Let's close them up. So there we go. A Hamilton from 1957 to early 1960s. Beautiful dial. I think I'll put this on the Timegrapher now. We'll take a quick peek. Hey, that's not too bad. Yeah, we could definitely work with that. So what now? I think I'm going to give the case and bracelet a good cleaning and wear the watch for a little while. Eventually, I'll work it into my queue of watches to be serviced, which I'll record for a future YouTube video. I hope you stay optimistic about finding your next vintage watch. Like I said earlier, please share in the comments any tips that you might have when you're buying watches for your collection or for repair. I'm Mike. Thanks for joining me. Please give this video a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to the channel for more wristwatch collecting and repair content. I look forward to our next time together.